Today we are going to talk about the AP or the Advanced Placement Exams, which are conducted by the College Board and which are conducted in India as well as in the US. My name is Anand Parshuram, and my wife here is Shobha Anand, and we both take classes at Intellitrak Education. We take classes for kids from the 4th grade to the 12th grade in Python, and we also take Java classes for kids from 7th grade onwards. And once a kid reaches the 9th grade, he can take the AP exam, and we take AP courses for people from the 9th grade to the 11th grade. So what are the AP exams? The AP exams or the Advanced Placement exams are conducted by the College Board, and they are given in various subjects. There used to be an exam called the Subject Sat earlier, before 2021, and these used to be conducted in different subjects. This has been discontinued, and now the only way that the student can show proficiency in a particular subject is by giving the AP exams, especially when he has not taken that subject in school. The AP exams actually are equivalent to HL level courses that are conducted by the IB board, which means they are college level courses and of a much higher level as opposed to the normal courses that are offered by schools in the 9th, 10th and 11th grades. These courses can also be sent to the universities directly by a student, or you can send it through College Board. There are various reasons why somebody would take an AP exam. The first reason is you can stand out at the universities. So what I mean by that is you can actually apply while applying to the university. The admissions committee at the school which analyzes your application can look at your AP scores, and then they can make a determination that you are well versed in Java and programming, which means you have taken an active interest in trying to study something out of your normal course level. And if you are applying to a computer science curriculum in that particular school, that also shows that you have an interest in that particular subject and that you can actually do well in school, especially if you get a score between 4 and 5. Now, AP exams are also will help you save money, in the sense that if you score like 3, 4 or 5, many universities give you a credit for certain courses, and you can actually skip those courses and take higher level courses. It can also help you save time, in the sense that if you have taken a lot of APs, like 5 or 7 APs, then you can actually skip a lot of courses, and you can actually finish your undergraduate education at a much earlier, before the end of 4 years. You can probably finish it in 3 or 3.5 years. So that is another advantage of taking an AP exam. One of the most important things that we overlook is AP exams will also help you discover yourself. So what I mean by that is sometimes students are confused about what subject they are really interested in, because either all of them sound interesting or all of them do not. So if you take certain courses, then you can actually take a peek into how your college life is going to be by taking these AP exams, because AP exams mimic the portions that are taught to you in college. So AP Computer Science A is actually a very in-depth look at computer science and programming and algorithms that are taught in college level, and it will help you understand what is taught there and whether you have a liking towards that subject. And if you take that course, you can either decide towards to going to that and doing that course, or deciding against it. So this is one of the most important factors for taking the advanced placement exams and advanced placement courses. Advanced placement courses are offered in a lot of subjects, and this particular slide shows you a small snapshot of all the subjects of some of the subjects that are being offered. And I should say that from this particular small list, AP Physics C and AP Physics Electricity and Magnetism and Mechanics, as well as Calculus, are some of the most important subjects that the Indian student usually gives in order to be admitted into STEM subjects in various universities and colleges. When should you give the AP? Now, usually in the US, people give the AP when the student is in the 11th grade, But if you are fairly proficient in computer science and you are fairly proficient in programming, then it is possible to give the AP exam even when you are in the ninth grade. That actually gives you a chance to finish some of the APs before you start the boards, and you can concentrate more on project work and building a good application for the different schools that you're going to apply to if your AP computer science is out of the way. And that's why a lot of the students who come to our institute actually give the AP exams in the ninth grade itself. Also, some of the board exams are held on the same day as that of the AP exams, which means you may have to give the board exam in the morning and then the AP exam in the evening. So you can get around all that if you actually give it in the ninth grade itself. One of the cons or one of the disadvantages of giving the exam in the ninth grade is that you are still not that developed as you would be in the 10th or the 11th grade in terms of trying to understand and comprehend the type of questions that are asked in the exams. But when you go through our courses, and if you are able to understand all the questions well, then I would suggest that you should give it in the ninth grade itself, so that you can get it out of the way. Can you give the exam twice? The answer to that is yes, you can. Especially if you're in the 9th or 10th grade and you have given the exam once, you can give it again. But if you're in the 11th grade and you give the exam, it's not possible to give the exam again because the AP exams are only conducted once a year in India, and SATs are conducted multiple times. So you can give the SAT multiple times, but AP exams cannot be given multiple times if you are in the 11th grade. But if you're in the 9th grade, you can give the exam in the 9th as well as the 10th grade, and you can actually submit the score that you got, the higher score that you got to the various colleges that you are applying to. Now, there are two major subjects that are offered by the college board for AP, and those subjects are AP Computer Science Principles and AP Computer Science A. AP Computer Science Principles is actually a broad coverage of computer science. And what the students learn in this course is basically they get to explore the subject at a much broader level, at a much higher level. They get to know about all the innovations that are happening in this field. And you don't have to be a great coder and programmer. And you just write some simple programs and pseudocode and learn how to test the programs and learn how to identify the kind of output that a particular program will give. Then there are other topics like networking and internet and ethical issues that are also covered in this particular course. So who gives this course? People who give this, people who are applying to colleges, say in economics or in law, they actually tend to give this particular course because it's a broad coverage of computer science. But if you are going to apply to a school for a computer science degree, then giving this computer science principles exam is not going to help you gain any credits, and nor will the admissions committee look at your application in a much favorable way. So for that, you will have to give the exam called AP Computer Science A, and this exam actually tests you on how good you are in programming and how good, especially you are in Java. So what this entails is that you get an introduction to Java and to programming in general. You get to write different kinds of programs. Then you will get to know how data can be stored on a computer, especially in data structures like arrays and array lists. You also get a good overview of object-oriented programming and how you can reuse your code, how you can make your code more reusable so that others can also use your code through classes, class libraries, as well as functions. You also get to learn a lot about string handling, and this particularly string handling refers to how you can validate the data that people are entering on the front end. For example, if somebody is supposed to enter a full name and he only enters the first name, then the computer should be able to give you an error message saying that a full name has not been entered. It actually takes the string that you are entering and processes it and tells you that a space is missing or that the full name has not been entered. So basically, after studying all these topics, the student becomes a very good programmer as well as a architect. He will be able to design class libraries which other people can use. And even if you don't give the exam, I think it teaches you a lot of computer science skills. So this course leads you to solving problems and writing code on paper, as well as there's a section called multiple choice where people have to respond to a particular question and give and mark a particular choice. So that brings us to the next slide, which talks about the two sections that are there in the AP exams. One is the free response section and the other one is the multiple choice section. In the free response section, you actually write Java program or code. So you write code on paper for a particular problem statement that they give you. So the problem statement will be very detailed and it will be very complicated, and then you have to write some functions that will perform a certain task and return the output. So and then there is another section called the multiple choice section. Here you have to choose the correct option and for a particular question, and I should say that most questions will have multiple choices which look similar, which adds to the complexity of this particular section. The concepts in detail tested in the multiple choice and in the free response sections are what is described in the next two slides. So programming fundamentals, algorithms, data structures, object-oriented programming, logic, recursion, and strings. These are the concepts that are tested in the multiple choice section. And pretty much the same topics are tested in the free response section as well, except recursion. The reason recursion is not there in this is because there are no topics, there is no code to be written for a recursive solution. They just tell you how to, you just have to mark down the output that you will get for a certain recursive function that you may write. So that part is tested in the multiple choice. Now, even though it says that even though there are percentages given to each topic on the right hand side, I wouldn't strictly go by that, because most of the questions are they give you the questions are tested are made based on the fact that it will test you on almost 5 or 6 of these concepts simultaneously. So there will be a class, and within that class there will be an array list, and within that array list there will be a string, and then within that you have to use loops, and then finally there's an algorithm you may have to use. So a lot of concepts are tested simultaneously on a particular question, and therefore you should know, you should have a good grasp on all the concepts. The multiple choice section is scored by a computer. So each answer sheet is scanned by a machine using OCR, and then they are marked. The free response section are open-ended questions, and the students are writing code on paper, and therefore an AP reading section is usually held in the month of June, where a lot of examiners will come and sit in a room, and then they will score the free response section. Even if your answers do not exactly match the scoring guide that is in front of them, they will be able to make out whether it's going to give the correct output, and based on their experience, and that's how you are scored in the free response section. Do colleges look at the AP exam scores when deciding whether to admit an applicant? The answer to that is some universities definitely yes. You will have to check the admission website of the different colleges that interest you to see if your sending your official scores will actually help support your application or not. In general, the colleges want to see if you have taken rigorous coursework when you were in school, and AP exams is definitely a very rigorous coursework, and as I said earlier, it is equivalent to HL in IB, and HL is one of the most rigorous courses that students take when they are in high school. So AP exams are very similar to IB. The scores that you get in the AP exam, the final scores that you get in the AP exam will be a 5 or a 4 or a 3 or a 2 or a 1. So if you get 5, you are extremely well qualified, and if you are 1, you are not well qualified. You are not qualified. So the aim of the student should be to get a 5, and if he falls in the borderline, then maybe a score of 4 would be okay. But I would not suggest anybody would take the exam if you are not going to get a 4 or a 5, because even though 3 says qualified, I am not very sure how the admissions committee will look at a student's a score of 3 in a particular AP exam. So it's better not to risk it, and better to take the exam only if you are quite confident that you will get a 5 or a high 4. If you don't get a good score at the AP exam, will it hurt your chances of college admission? Now on the slide, when you see this white rectangle with black letters, then it means that I have actually taken this out of the college board site and I have just copy pasted it on my PowerPoint. So what they are saying is it will most likely not affect your admissions for college admission. However, I think an admission officer would look at your score and probably make a determination of how good you are academically, or how good you are in the particular topic for which you are given the exam. Therefore, if you are going to get a 3, I would not send that score to the committee. So it is possible not to send a score to the committee, which will and they will not be able to access your score directly. This works similar to SATs. So it's the same thing in SATs also. You can give the exam multiple times and then you send the best score, or you don't have to send any score. Can you retake the AP exam? So as I said before, you can take the AP exam again. If you're in the 9th grade, you can take it again in the 10th grade and the 11th grade. But since it happens only once a year, I would again try and reiterate the fact that if you are not going to, if the chances of getting a 5 or a 4 is not there, then it's better not to attempt the exam at all. Otherwise, if you are very good in computer science and Java, and for some reason you don't get a good score, then definitely you can take the exam again. Let's dive into the depth of the 2 sections that are tested in this computer science AA exam. The first section is the multiple choice, and there are 40 questions in this section. You get 90 minutes to solve the whole section, and which means it's 2.5 minutes per problem. It's 40 points, 1 per problem, and 50% of the exam score depends on this particular section. Most of the questions are quite tough. Some of the loop problems are very convoluted, and you get 5 choices and you have to mark one of those choices. There are no negative markings, but still 2 or 3 choices will look very similar, and if the student is not able to solve the problem very fast, then it may hinder the chances of getting a good score in the multiple choice section. The second section is the free response section, where a huge big question will be given to the student, and he will have to read the question very thoroughly and make sure that he understands the question. And after that, there will be 3 or 4 functions that he has to write per question. So what do I mean by functions? A function is a piece of code that exists on its own, and you can, for example, it may say that you have to calculate simple interest. So you have to write some code there to calculate the simple interest and return the interest back to the calling program. So that would be a simple function, and these functions are not as simple as that. So they will give you a big problem, and then you have to write 3 or 4 functions. And there will be 4 questions like this. Each question will have 4 functions to write, and you get about 90 minutes, which means you get around 12.5 minutes or thereabouts for each question. And then there are 36 points, 9 points per problem. This again constitutes to 50% of the exam score. Now I know that 4 questions and 9 points per question is only 36. So then how does it come to 40? The thing is, they multiply whatever score you get by 1.111, and if you get a score of 36 and multiply by 1.111, it will bring it to 40. It is prudent to assume that you will not be able to get a full score in either the multiple choice or the free response section. There is a very high probability that you will miss 4 or 5 questions in multiple choice, and due to silly mistakes, you'll lose 4 or 5 marks in the free response also. So, generally speaking, there is a very good chance that you would have lost 8 to 10 points already. Now, if you get a score between 62 and 80, usually that is considered to be a very good score, and you can get a 5 on it. So even if you lose like 16 or 18 marks, you can get a 5. So if you don't know a particular question in free response and you don't understand that question at all, and if you have done very badly in that question, then you can directly lose 9 points. And 9 multiplied by 1.11 is 10. So if you lose 10 points in a particular question in free response, it's almost impossible to get a 5. So that's the reason these exams is very tricky, and you have to be really well prepared to write this exam. Now, between 47 and 61, you will get a 4. So because it's out of 80 and 47 is almost like 60%. So if you get like 60% of the score, you will get a 4. Now that is not very difficult to get. It is quite possible to get a 4. But still, you will have to prepare very well and do a lot of practice and do some previous year's papers as well. Now let's look at the score distributions that for the year 2022. Out of 100 students that wrote the exam, 27.3% of the people got a 5 in the year 2022, and 20.4% of the people got a 4. So 47.7% of the people got a 3 or got a 4 or a 5. If you compare that to some of the other subjects like physics C, which is mechanics, it is almost similar. So you can see that 26.4% of the people got a 5 and 25.7% of the people got a 4 in the year 2022 for physics mechanics. Whereas for chemistry, it was only 12.5% of the people got a 5 and 17% got a 4. So if you look at it from this point of view, computer science A actually falls in between physics C and chemistry. More towards physics C, I would say. So the chances of getting a 5 is quite good. But if you don't prepare well, we have seen students who have not been able to understand some of the questions, and because of which they have not been able to score a 5. So what happens if you don't score a 5? A score of 4 is also considered good enough to receive college level credits towards a course. And college board says that some colleges also accept a 3. But my suggestion is do not attempt unless you are sure you are going to get a 5 or at least a very high 4. If you are on the borderline of between 3 and 4, then also it's a little bit of a problem. So what do I mean by borderline? If you give your previous year's papers and you see that your score is falling something like, if you're getting something like 40 or 45, then that would be borderline. And therefore, I would suggest that you should attempt the exam only if you're going to get a 5 or a high 4. The actual questions that actually appear in the free response section, this has also been listed in the College Board site, and now these questions they change every year. And 2023, these are the questions that are going to be asked in the free response section. Question 1 is going to be about control structures. Question number 2 is going to be about creating a class, which is completely object-oriented programming. You have to create a class, and maybe you have to inherit a class and encapsulate some of the properties. And then question 3 and 4 are going to be on data structures. Question 3 is going to be either an array or an array list problem, and question 4 is going to be about a two-dimensional array problem. and they can ask you logic as first string handling in any of the questions 1, 3 or 4. So 1, 3 and 4 will also be mixed up with some string handling function or an algorithm. Now, why am I holding this particular session? The reason is the AP exam dates have been announced, and it has been set to be on May 8th, 2024 at 12 p.m., which is a Wednesday. So I would suggest that you guys register onto College Board if you haven't done so already. I'm sure most of you have registered already, because some of you may have already given the SATs. So using the same registration, you can actually look for AP courses, and all the information about the AP courses are there on College Board. Now, Bangalore International School and Greenwood High are the two schools that I am aware of that conduct the AP exam in Bangalore. Some centers also have late testing dates for students who cannot give the exam on May 8th. So basically, what it is there are two dates. There is a May 8th date, as well as there is a late testing date. Now, for the May 8th date, there are two registration windows. The window 1 registration has already opened on 14 September 2023, and the window 1 is going to close on November 9th, 2023. If you are not sure about whether you are ready to give the exam or not, I would suggest that you wait till Jan. Another window is going to open up 3rd Jan 2024, and the deadline for paying and registering for that window would be on 9th March 2024. You can register either for the regular exam or the late testing exam before the deadline. The fees are slightly different for window 1 and window 2, but I don't think that should be a factor for deciding on whether you should register early or not. The most important factor would be how good the student is and how good his preparation is up to this point of time. And if you are sure that you are going to give the exam, whatever it may be, then I would say you can actually register for it in the window 1. To get all information about the exam, please go to College Board, and you will get mails from them. I am not registered with this site, and I do not get any info about any of the exams. All the information I am giving to you about is available on a public platform on College Board. But if you enroll and you sign in, you will also have access to some of the student related information that is not available publicly. Now, at the time you are giving the exam, please remember that you require a valid passport or an Aadhaar card. Valid passport means that it shouldn't have expired already. The reason I have this slide here is because one of the students, they actually went to the exam and they realized that their passport was not valid, so they couldn't write the exam. So if you do not have a valid passport, this is the time to act and do something about it. And if you don't have a passport, they also accept the Aadhaar card, but some students don't have the Aadhaar card as well. So please make sure that you have either of these documents. What did we do in the class so far? In the course, this class that we have been having since from Jan 2023 to now is called the Core Java class. And here we introduce all the topics that are tested in AP Java. However, the level of problem that we did were of intermediate level, simple to intermediate level. And therefore, we can say for sure that the students can say for themselves whether they have understood the topic well or not. And if they have not understood, they can practice some of these intermediate level problems again and again till they get familiarized and become an expert in this. And the AP class is going to start in January, sometime in the second half of January. So what we do in the AP class is we introduce each topic we covered earlier, and we give the students higher level questions, some college level questions. which will prepare them to write the AP exam, because the AP exam will not have any simple questions. It will be only college level. So that part of being able to solve more difficult algorithms is still to be covered, and that will be done from January onwards. The second half of the AP class is going to be about solving previous year's papers and solving some multiple choices, and then I will grade them, and I will make the student understand how the papers are scored, and where they will lose marks, and where it does not matter. For example, if you put if you forget to put a semicolon, they will not cut any marks, as long as you don't forget to put semicolon in all the statements you are writing. So if you forget a few, they will not cut any marks. So we will understand all those grading practices in the AP class. We will also practice multiple choice questions, and make sure that we are able to solve the questions within the stipulated time of 2.5 minutes per question. And this will only come with practice. So 50% is about solving all the topics at a higher level, and 50% is all about solving MCQs and being able to solve the 40 questions in 90 minutes. Now, even though 25% of the people are getting a 5, I don't think we should think that AP exams are easy. I think a lot of students are getting exposed to computer science much earlier now, and even in the US, they have started teaching them computer science from 9th grade onwards. So by the time they write the AP exams, they are all already a master of most of the algorithms, and that's the reason the percentage of people who are getting a 5 is actually increasing year on year by a small margin. It's not increasing spectacularly, it's increasing by a small margin. So we have to make sure that we also fall in the same bracket, and as a student, we have to make sure that we have understood all the concepts and are able to solve higher level problems also. Understanding core Java principles is winning 60% of the battle, which means what we have done so far is constitutes to 60%, and the other 40% still remains. And the student has to make sure that he devotes a lot of time to this particular exam, as studying at the last minute is definitely not going to help. Computer science, and especially programming, is almost like math, where if you study like 4 or 5 topics in math on the last week of your exam, would not be enough. You really have to solve them much before that, and keeping the last 2 months for revision is all you can hope for. The AP course starts in Jan, and we will be able to admit only a maximum of 10 students. The others can also write the exam, but they will have to study and practice on their own. I may conduct a test in the beginning of Jan to see if a student qualifies for the AP course, and I am sure this will also help the students themselves in getting a handle of where they stand. So I would suggest that you guys start preparing for that particular qualification exam, and do some problems from Barron's. Please do not solve any previous papers now. Previous papers are supposed to be solved only in the last 2 months before the actual AP exams. So May 8th is the exam, so we will start solving previous papers from March 1st. If previous papers are not there in plenty, so if you start solving now, you will run out of all the papers by the time you reach that deadline. So I would suggest, do not touch any of the previous papers. Simply practice from Barron's, and that should be it for the qualification exam that you will have in the second half of January. So that's it, guys. We have come to an end to this presentation, and I hope most of the people are gaining a good amount of knowledge in this core Java class. even if you do not write the AP exam, I'm sure this will go a long way in preparing you and making you aware of what you can expect in college if you take a computer science course. Thank you, everyone, and have a nice day.